everyone. Welcome to Zonan Canada. I'm your host, Jesse Betteridge. This is a podcast that explores the connections between anime and Canadian media. And today we're going to be focusing more on the fandom side of things. In previous episodes, we've looked at fandom history in Canada in a few different areas. And while, of course, because I'm from Vancouver, BC, there's been a lot of talk before, more, vague discussion about the history of anime fandom in this area, but we never really got into concrete detail about things, especially things that go a little further back, like before the anime conventions sort of formed in this area. It's a bit of a fraught history with, I think there's maybe some competing perspectives on things, but I'm hoping to sort of get some clarity and maybe hammer out a proper timeline here. And thankfully, I was able to find someone who goes back pretty far when it comes to anime fandom here in Vancouver. And yeah, I know Vancouver's not BC, but it is most of BC. So we'll just explore it to that depth. Maybe we'll look into other things later. But I'd like to welcome to the show Hieu Phan. Hieu, thanks so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me.
Hieu, can you just introduce yourself? Who are you? What have you been involved with in the past?
My name's Hieu. I've been involved with the anime community pre-Anime Evolution with a known local club called Anime Jyanai. Well, that's the store, but the club itself was VJAS for short.
Yes, and we have, like, when you go back into the history, there are ties between all these different things. VJAS and Anime Jyanai were very tied together, and this ultimately led to one of the major anime conventions here, Anime Evolution. There have been a couple others, and then there, the university clubs and everything as well. But you've been involved with a lot of this stuff going back pretty far. Hieu, I'm just curious, how far do you go back in anime fandom? Like, how long have you been into anime? When did you first sort of discover it or get into the scene? Or what's your story?
That's the funny thing. I discovered it really just by YTV when Sailor Moon actually first came on there. So the interest started from that point, and then trying to absorb media back then was very hard. Like, you either go to rental stores like Blockbusters or Rogers to get anime, and those are far and few between where they don't really get the new stuff, but they have stuff.
Yeah, so in
There.
in the period around 1995 to I guess sort of 1998 was this period where we were starting to see things on TV.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to explore beyond that, options were pretty limited. Did you, in addition to stuff on YTV, did you watch anything from like U.S. border stations, KVOS, or anything as well?
No, everything I got was either from YTV, which was my first real exposures, because you had stuff that was on TV like before Sailor Moon, like Samurai Pizza Cats, Saber Riders and the Star Sheriffs, and Transformers, right?
Mhm.
But you didn't really understand that it was actually a media that was not mainstream in North America. It was just stuff that was on TV. You didn't get the connection till later on when you actually dig further in and when the internet started to expand back then.
And when you started to get involved, like with, where did you start with fandom? Was that something you found on the internet or in person?
Um, the fandom itself, didn't fully get involved into that until I started going to the local clubs, which is the store that we had, which was Anime Jyanai. And that was back in like 95, 96-ish.
Yeah, so going back pretty far, do you know, so how far back Anime Jyanai went? Like, do you know when it opened?
Jyanai, if I remember correctly, was back in 1990, but
Yeah.
they were together prior to that. They're known as Arctic Anime, which is the fan sub group that we had when before mainstream where fans actually got together on series that they liked, translated it, and then manually subtitled it, and then recorded on VHS, and then distributed through VHS between one another
Yeah.
from clubs and clubs.
Yeah, so you
So
had so I guess to clarify, Anime Jyanai going back to the early '90s, and again, I don't know exactly the exact year that it opened. I guess 1990 you said is maybe when it started or some around that time, but it was the first anime focused store in Vancouver, and
yeah,
this was quite early for that kind of store. And it was originally, was it always located in, I know it moved around a few times, but it was generally in the city of Vancouver.
yeah. The store itself, and all its location was always located in Vancouver. The first store was actually on Broadway and Rupert there. And then they then moved over to the Cancer Society, which was on Broadway. Then they temporarily had to move to another location, and then their final location was all the way over in Slocan.
And the interesting thing about this store is that this was a brick and mortar retail store, but it was tied to like this fan subgroup, Arctic Animation, which I believe is one of the earlier fan subgroups that had been based
Yeah,
in Vancouver and was active throughout the early '90s. And the store, my understanding is that they had like a combination of like their own fan subtapes they produced as well as like some legitimate releases and probably some Hong Kong bootlegs too. I would imagine.
well, the store itself had the fan subs from their own fan sub, along with other fan subs groups within North America. So all across the US and Canada. Because again, it was for fans by fans, right?
Yeah, and
Back then. But
and they rented the tapes out. Is this
yeah,
how it worked?
yeah, they rented the tapes out. Those are for free. Any fan could pick them up, whatever series they wanted to watch, if as long as it's not been picked up by any of the big names publishers at that point.
And so and this was started by Mr. William Chow. He was the guy who started the store, and he was also the guy who started Arctic Animation.
Yeah.
And he has a for sure. Do you know who else was involved in the earliest times?
I don't have a lot because those were more of the guys behind the scene
Hmm.
guys.
Okay.
There. There's a few that's still around, but again, they're all over the world now, so kind of hard to pinpoint where they are.
Yeah, Anime Jyanai was I think pretty unique. Like I don't know if there were a lot of actual physical stores that that rented out fan subtapes even for free. It was a really interesting kind of little scene. Like can you paint a picture of what the store was like? Where like were there like regulars always hanging out there? Was it like a hangout spot
It
for
was
some
a hangout.
people?
It was a hangout spot. That's
Yeah.
where I got involved with the whole community itself and started getting involved because it was basically summertime. You have nothing better to do. You head to the store, see if there's any new releases from anyone from VHS, grab a few, just chill with the group, go out with them afterwards once the
Mhm.
store closed down, go to like the bookstores, the Japanese bookstores that we had back then, like Iwase.
Iwase
Yeah,
Books, yeah, that I
yeah,
remember Iwase Books in Yauhan Center. Sadly,
yeah,
shut down
yeah,
back in about little over 10 years ago. But
yeah.
uh, yeah, that was a really important resource because it wasn't an anime focused store, but it was a
No,
place where you could get lots of stuff from Japan, books from Japan, record like they had tapes of things recorded off of Japanese TV too, if I
yeah.
recall, a lot of VHS, and this kind of fed into the group over at Anime Janai.
It did because again, media back then was a lot harder to come by. It was like nowadays we have the internet, which is mainstream with downloading or streaming everything. But back then, you had to wait for them to ship it over, usually by cargo from Japan outside to your local area before you even get to a chance to actually see it.
Yeah, and did they have like on the tapes and stuff that they had at Iwase Books? Was it anime, or did you have like stuff like variety shows or other things recorded off of Japanese TV or copied from other tapes?
It was basically dramas, like TV dramas, variety shows, game shows, music videos.
Because it's interesting because like a lot of the stuff you find on that is common on Japanese TV, you still you look on YouTube. There's not as much of it as you might think. Like you're not gonna
Yeah, I do agree with that.
yeah.
It's like you get your mainstream stuff, like your bands and artists, like music artists. But when it comes to like iconic people or certain types of niche, those are a bit harder to find.
Yeah, because like things you find on YouTube, it's going to be even if it's like a variety show, it's going to be edited down to sometimes the most interesting part or the funniest part. You're not just getting like a long recording of just the raw ephemera from Japanese TV. I mean,
Yeah.
it's out there, but it's just like that's the kind of thing I think you'd find at Iwase Books that you're not necessarily gonna have the same experience with even with the unlimited resources of the internet.
Well, yeah, with the unlimited resources that we have nowadays, it's still lots of things that back then are hard to come by
Yeah,
because
there's just something about it you can't recapture with
oh no, yeah, there's lots
yeah.
of stuff you can't recapture for that. No. From my understanding was when the group got together, we do a Friday nights Iwase run. Basically, we go to the Iwase bookstore, take a look, see what new things got brought over, anything interesting, movies and stuff like that. Iwase was also a rental, so you could have actually rented stuff from them too. You have to return them, obviously, but those were like again a hit and miss because you don't know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like continuing this chain feeding in on itself, going from Iwase Books to Anime Jyanai to
Yeah.
however else it disseminates through these tape or not necessarily copying everything, but just viewing and experiencing everything through.
Not like real time, like nowadays with the internet, everything was like almost a month, maybe sometimes even 2 months behind from when it was aired on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah. Um, and if I find it interesting that Anime Jyanai would actually close town on Friday nights, and then Iwase Books would still be open. How late was Iwase Books open on Friday night?
they were open until 10, sometimes
Wow,
11.
really?
Yeah. So after, like I said, most stores close around about 7, 8-ish. We'll get together, jump into the car, and then boom, off to Wase, and then just hang around there for a bit, just to again look at all the new things that are coming out. Sometimes you're lucky, you get like the new type, which was our catalog of the back then instead of like the online catalogs, but it's like an actual magazine where it gives you the latest coming or the latest show episode reviews and just little things like that.
And were you guys you guys were mainly again an in-person group meeting around the store and kind of creating a local community, just sort of small niche groups. Were you in contact with any other like groups in other cities or other parts of the country or other parts of North
Yeah,
America?
that's where the fan service tapes comes
Mm-hmm.
from, right? Because we will fan sub one title, and then once we finish subtitling a title or series, uh, there we would then say that this project is completed, and then we'll get requests from say some fun from Alberta. I was like, hey, that series is something that our club would like to be interested. We did this set, and so we'll just send things back and forth exchanging it so that they get their copy, we get a copy of what they were doing, and it just continues that way. That's why the fan subs back then were harder to get come by because you have to find the people that were doing them, right?
And were you mainly in contact with other groups through like email or through BBS, or were there like other spaces you'd interact with groups in different parts of the continent?
I was told they were using BBS
BBS,
and
yeah,
email back then a lot more. But then I weren't part of that at that time when I came in. I wasn't part of the behind the scene type of deal.
yeah,
I was more of
yeah.
a I'm here to hang out with the guys.
Yeah, of course. Were you so you weren't actually involved, like directly involved with Arctic Animation or the fan subbing process, like the guys who ran the store were more behind the scenes of the store.
I was running the store at one point,
Hmm.
but the behind the scene things with the subbing and all that, I that was before me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Their Arctic Animation is just it has a little bit of a reputation of having some. Back in the day, there'd be these groups would take little snipes at each other with messages in the fan subs, and Arctic Animation was notorious for having some pretty colorful ones compared to other groups. Maybe even a little offensive sometimes. But yeah, that most of that stuff was, I think, sort of before you were more involved with the group and the store.
Yeah,
From what I take it, yeah.
no, it was, but again, back then, you don't really have a point or a destination to actually join up with each other much. So, taking shots back and forth is always, like I said, poking the bear just for fun.
There's more to be said on that, but again, we don't have to go down that hole too much. Yeah. um, yeah. Actually, if I will, actually, I'm not going to bring that up at all. So you had this group, of people around the stores, and Anime Jyanai was direct, as you mentioned, was directly tied to the Vancouver Japanese Anime Society, which was an anime club based in Vancouver. And I
Yeah,
wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, about how this group sort of grew into that or was tied to that. I mean, how far do you know when VJAS was formed? Were you kind of involved with it the whole time, or was this already going when you joined the store?
it was already going when I joined the store. So VJAS itself was the society. We had a monthly showing at Douglas College, if you recall those meetings
Yeah,
there.
this was at the New West campus.
Yes, it was at the
Yeah,
New West campus. Prior to that, we had them at Trout Lake Community Center. So basically, what we did was, if it's a theme month like Christmas or something like that, we would show anime that had those themes in them for the showing for the month itself. So we'll run an advertisement or flyers, and we'll post them on the stores and post them in Iwate books, Sophia books, and uh, half moons and other various small Japanese communities there to promote the showings for people come out.
yeah. So that's mainly what it was. It was like you had the social group around the store, and then you had the monthly screenings at these various places, and that was for the late '90s for the most part. That was sort of the core of what this group was.
Yeah,
And it's interesting that we had the VJS because it performed the same function that I think. Well, there were the university clubs. Do you know? Did you ever have any involvement with UBC Anime or the Altered Reality Club at SFU?
no, UBC anime and SFU anime club, and there was another ones. Uh, when we have a like a bigger showing, like it wasn't we were promoting a get together with all the clubs. This is where the when the start of anime evolution started, was actually a joining of all the four major
Yeah,
clubs in the Lower Mainland.
everything
We
kind of
would,
came together with cooperation with VJS to sort of get that off
yeah,
the ground initially. Yeah.
we all just got together and we had all these skill sets and people and resources. So we're like, okay, let's pull our resources here and let's do like a bigger showing just for the fans, or sort of an appreciation type of deal. Because back then, uh, for the Lower Mainland, anyways, anime was not a. It was a big thing, but not as a major thing as it is now, because of mainstream media and how much the internet has provided anime access to pretty much anyone.
Going back to something you mentioned earlier, you mentioned two other bookstores, Half Moon Bookstore and Sophia Books. So
Yeah,
one of those is still around.
yeah.
Um, I was curious, how far do you go back with each of those? Half Moon Books, in particular, I know has been around a very long time, and they're still operating to this day. And if you go to Vancouver, I highly recommend visiting Half Moon Books. It is an amazing little piece of history there.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Half Moon books. Again, this was again starting in the heydays of anime itself, where anime products is not widely known. So you get what you can, but for Half Moon itself, it was one of those places where you could find the little things that you normally would not see in the general area, like Iwase. There,
Yeah,
Sophia.
the lady
Yeah,
who runs Half Moon Books, she used to work in merchandising in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, she
Yeah.
does. I'm actually friends with her, so we've been friends for like about
Yeah. Sorry,
20.
what was her name again?
Uh, Asuko?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still she at that store now. She has a bunch of old VHS that of old recordings and old and other movies and anime and stuff that sometimes she'll let you buy. You know, that place is almost kind of more like a museum too.
It is a museum of anime history, one of the earlier stores of the Lower Mainland, I would say.
Yeah, it's moved a couple times. Its current location, you go there, it still has a sign for the previous store that was in that retail space. So
Yeah,
it's easy to miss, but you know,
it
it's
is
there.
quite
Yeah.
easy because her old location was actually now a big high rise.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I mean, it's right beside. It was right beside where the Marine Drive SkyTrain station is. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
of
much.
course, it's going to be redeveloped and turned into a transit oriented spot.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's too bad that as we build up, it's harder to find space for small independent places, at least close to transit.
Mhm.
But the store seems pretty comfortable where it is right now. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's definitely an outlier. I mean, as we're seeing so many more anime stores pop up now, it's like Half Moon Books is the one that's been around
The longest
the
right now.
longest by far,
Yeah.
and then there's Soccer Media, which has its own
That ranging.
history. Yeah,
Yeah. They
98
are about
started
20
in
years too. Yeah.
yeah, Crystal Mall, selling not so legit things, and then moving to Metrotown, and now they have a downtown location, which I hope is still operating by the time you listen to this podcast. But they're a well-run
Oh,
business. I think they'll
they
be
just
okay.
opened it, so it
Yeah,
should be good.
yeah, yeah. And Soccer Media, well, yeah, they've shifted focus a lot over the years, but they always go towards what
What's in
sells
demand?
and
Yeah.
what's in demand, and
Yeah.
it worked. It's very rare to see hobby stores that are able to stay open that long, and Soccer Media and Half Moon Bookstore are both great examples of how to
Yeah.
keep it going. Sophia Book, can you tell us a little bit about what that place was like?
Think about the comic books, like a comic book shop, like a general comic book shop, but then they actually had a more expanded inventory that goes into anime and manga too. That's pretty much Sophia. It's almost like a secondhand place too. Um, in the later stage, when they were still open, so you were able to get like some really nice things that you normally wouldn't be able to find in like a big box store like Iwase. It's like book off.
Yeah,
If
oh,
you
and
remember,
we had book off for a wonderful what 7 or 8 year period.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So
then the
think of yeah. So Sophia was similar to them in that aspect, but unfortunately, I think it was due to space crunch and financial crunch that they weren't able to expand.
yeah, it's interesting that there's aspect of a used goods component that you'd see in these stores. Like Half Moon Books is like basically a consignment store. But even now, you still see that. Like I don't know if you've been down to Vesperia manga and comics down in Kitsilano, but they're a new manga store, and they take old used manga and figures and sell them too, but also have new products as well. So it's interesting to see that business model is still going. Even EB Games, EB Games now has anime figures and manga, and they sell used stuff as well. That's been an interesting pivot to see with those guys in the last few months. But going back to VJAS, back at that point, like again, you couldn't find things easily online, and there was a little of it on TV. So if you wanted to watch anything, and especially if you wanted to form a community, you had to physically get together
Yeah,
and
basically.
watch it, and it just gave an important outlet for that. And it's interesting that Vancouver had its own sort of unique club because lots of places around North America had the Cartoon Fantasy Organization chapters, CFO.
Hmm.
And interestingly, Victoria had a CFO chapter, but Vancouver didn't. That's something that's always kind of puzzled me. And I think we'd have to go like really way, way, way back to sort of get a picture of why that was. Um, but my understanding is that VJAS goes back pretty far. Like we're going back to like the presence of VJAS may have just made it unnecessary for a CFO chapter to form here as well. I'm just speculating. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but
Yeah,
Vancouver is a little unique in that regard.
yeah, it is. Because, like I said, I had to bug him for that letter one day, just for fun. Because Arctic Anime was, like I said, probably one of the first few clubs that did fan subbing, that started all of that importations, and that's where a lot of the big companies back then, like ADV, Amigo, and stuff, got their ideas from, I would say.
It is a long, complicated history. Um,
Yeah.
but sorry, you're mentioning a letter. Was this a letter William got from a distributor?
Yes, he had a thank you letter from Anime in regards to one of the series, an all-time classic, Orange Road.
Oh, so they thanked him for doing the fan subs rather than got mad at him for unauthorized translation. That's nice.
Well, again, when anime was still new and it's in its youngest stage in North America, companies really didn't know what to pick up. They depended on the fans, right? It's still an amazing show if you have never gotten a chance to watch it.
Oh, of course, and you can watch it on Crunchyroll. I think it's on Retro Crush as well if you want an alternative.
Is it on Crunchyroll? I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah,
I don't actually have Crunchyroll, mind you. Most of my media is just DVDs and Blu-rays.
that's honestly that is in many ways a better way to watch it, but there's certainly advantages with streaming.
Yeah.
So kind of getting into conventions more. So Anime Evolution was the first, usually remembered as the first major anime convention in Vancouver, but it wasn't the first. There was one before that called AkaCon,
Yeah.
and it's usually not very well remembered. And I understand you were at this con.
I was actually.
Yeah, could please, Hugh, tell me about AkaCon. I wanna know more about AkaCon. The people want to know more about AkaCon. I know people did. There was a long time where people didn't want to talk about AkaCon, but I think we need to talk about AkaCon.
AkaCon was a project that was not in. in conjunction with any of the groups, local groups or anything. It was just
Hmm.
someone outside of the Lower Mainland decided, okay, how come Seattle has SecuraCon? Why don't we have an anime con here? Or why I'm gonna make an anime con here in Vancouver.
So this person who was outside of the Lower Mainland, were they from BC, or are we talking someone just completely out there?
Completely separated from BC.
So they're not even from BC. Were they Canadian? Was this like an American coming
American.
in? It wasn't a, so Akakon was so it was started by an American.
It was started by an American, yes.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So they saw SoccerCon, which I should point out was BakaCon when it started. So
Yeah.
you saw BakaCon in the Seattle, and then someone who's not even Canadian said we need to make another convention in Vancouver, BC, and call it AkaCon.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where they got the names from, so I can't tell you. All
our
I
our
know is
our tradition of having anime cons that are only one letter apart, difference in name, goes back quite far.
yes, it does. It seems. But so the individual himself decided that we need to do this event on the spur of the moment. Um, they didn't really reach out to any of the clubs or the community at all for help. As when AE started up on its own, because when AE started, it basically reached out to all the clubs like, hey, this is a general direction that we're looking at going to, but we need help.
Yeah,
Are you guys willing to help?
yeah. But
And that's
with Akakon,
where
and sorry, what year was Akakon in? Do you remember?
oh, I don't really remember. I
You know, I'm
forgot.
hold on. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look this up. Give me a
I
moment.
was going to do the same thing.
Akakon was in 2000, November 26th and 27th. So it was a 2 day convention
Mm.
at the Sheraton in
Yeah.
Vancouver. So this is very much before rumblings of the local groups doing their own anime con came up. And when was BakaCon? So just to set the picture. So just to set the picture. Um, we have this convention started by someone from the United States. I'm assuming they're from Washington or like
No,
West Coast. Oh, they weren't, not even from Washington.
no, they're even further down. I think they're Texan.
Oh, so this was someone from Texas. Interesting.
Yeah.
Who wanted to do an anime convention in Vancouver. Oh my god, I have so many more questions now. This is weird. And I looking at the guest list for AkaCon 2000, I am seeing a lot of people from Texas. We got Tiffany Grant, we got David Williams, we got Amanda Wynn Lee, um,
Yeah.
and a few others. So, uh,
Well, you have to also remember back then, most of these actors, voice actors, were always up here recording because of the studio up here.
yeah, because of the Ocean Studios and the other studios as well, and of course there
Yep.
were many actors related to those productions as well. We have Richard Ian Cox, Paul Dobson was there, um, and Jerry Chu, Toshifumi Yoshida. So you
Yep.
had people from Bandai and from other companies. Uh, so quite a presence at this convention. Um, Again, I got a lot of questions about how this came about more than ever. But yeah, please tell me, Akakon 2000. How did that go for you? How did that go for anyone?
For the fans, it was a great for the fans because they were able to cosplay, get merchants, just able to enjoy themselves and be themselves. From the a perspective from the professional side, where for the people that wants to run events like these, it wasn't the best.
I have heard it was quite bad. It was quite a mess.
I'm just being polite.
Yeah, yeah.
it
You don't have to be polite. It's been 25 years. You can rip into Akakon all you want.
it was a gong show because the organization was basically done by literally 5 people, and one of them was running around left, right, and center, just trying to get a sense of what needs to be done, and the other was, I'm just here to enjoy myself. This is my event.
Just basking in
The glory of
in the
Agava's
glory of
event.
their efforts. It's
Yeah,
like, yes, this is mine.
yeah,
As, yeah. And yeah, so horribly understaffed by incompetent people who were from outside of the country for questionable reasons, without any participation or perhaps even knowledge of local groups and clubs in the area who certainly probably would have been willing to help put something on.
oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
The clubs
And,
and the groups themselves here are always willing to help. But the individual that was running this event decided not to contact anyone.
do you remember? Do you remember any names? Do you know who these people's names were? Again, it's
I
been
don't
25 years. If you know, you can just say.
I don't remember any of the big purple's name because again, it was at the point where I was like, I don't want to deal with this group.
Yeah.
But that being said, I know the people that were behind the scenes trying to maintain it and keep it running. Again, the unsung heroes per se and all that glorious. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
not the funnest time. I mean,
But
what they were doing was uh, an amazing thing. I mean, they're trying to promote a media and a medium that we all truly enjoy at that point. But the way that it was presented, it didn't sit well because it didn't. The whole atmosphere, the whole this is why we're doing this wasn't there. I felt.
they did get Takayuki Goto from Production IG. But yeah, definitely not a well executed event. But hey, the best part is that that wasn't the only AkaCon. There was an AkaCon in 2001, the following year, in
Yeah.
November as well. Did you go to AkaCon 2001 in Richmond, BC?
No, I went because I wanted to see what the event, how is it doing. It
And how was it
was
doing?
from the scene chaotic mess. It was just trying to get in touch with someone. It's like, yeah, yeah, I'll be with you. Next thing you know, it's like, where's the person I was talking to? They're gone. Like, okay. I was going to see if they needed help, but they didn't want help, but they needed help.
I don't know anything about this second AkaCon, but one interesting thing I'm noticing is that almost all the guests are from Texas, and they
Yeah,
didn't seem to have any local voice actors that time, or anyone really local, which is interesting.
yeah. That's why I said the individual that was running it
Yeah,
was from Texas.
yeah, close to the airport, so you can just fly those people in and out.
Yep.
Not that having a con near an airport is a bad thing, but definitely definitely the hallmarks of something being run from someone out of town.
Yeah.
I now one common person I do see at both those conventions and who would be back at Anime Evolution, at least for the first year, was Jerry Chu from Bandai Entertainment. Uh,
Yeah.
the one of the real MVPs for just trying to make sure anime was available and visible in Canada. I think he was pretty much responsible for Gundam Wing getting on TV here as fast as it did, and
Yeah.
for those Bandai shows that kicked off the Bionics block a few years later in 2004.
Yeah. I believe he was Jerry Chu, amazing guy.
Yeah,
Um, right. He was promoting Bandai as a whole, company as a whole back then, where Bandai actually had a anime division. They also had a was it a manga?
At one point, there was a very brief period in the mid 2000s where they had a manga division.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a brief period, yeah, but it was again promoting games, promoting he was promoting everything. It's like a lot of different types of media when he was at the events. And that was what was amazing about him because when you talk to him, he's always focused and his always trying to explain his vision of what he wanted North America to be like
Yeah,
and the acceptance of what anime was, how he was promoting that.
yeah. Jerry Chu was awesome. He was a again, he was a mainstay for a few years when around this period. And yeah, it was cool to see him at these events at that time, or the couple times I caught him at Anime Evolution, at least.
Yeah.
But so on that note, yeah, AkaCon 2001 was the last AkaCon. There were no more AkaCons after that. I understand that they left some damage. I think there were some hotels, the hotels that they stayed at. I understand didn't want anything to do with anime cons for a while
Yeah.
after that. That's what I've been told.
That was correct because that's what caused the big blow to the image of anime conventions locally.
Yeah, in Vancouver, and that made it really tough to
It
sort
was.
of get that restarted again. But from what I have seen, yeah. But even though that happened, I don't know. Did was the failure of AkaCon, is that what brought about Anime Showcase in 2001 and 2002, or was this something that was already kind of being that was kind of in the works, independent of AkaCon, AkaCon's implosion?
Anime Showcase was in the works uh, uh, before that because that's where again the monthly showings that we had with VJAS, we decided to promote it along with all the other clubs.
Yeah, you did a
So
you joined with the Altered Reality Club at SFU, and you joined
yeah,
with UBC Anime, and you said we're gonna do, you know, what
the
we do at
showcase.
VJAS, but we're gonna make it a big event at
Yeah,
Harbor Center SFU,
yeah.
and try to invite lots of people to come join. Not a convention, but
Just
VJAS doing its thing, but
yeah, it's
bigger.
just basically getting more fans together, allowing them to enjoy these new animes that are coming out or are out, and allowing them to experience us just a showcase.
That
Because
that actually
nowadays,
raises that raises a question actually. How many people, like before AkaCon, how many people were at like most VJAS screenings?
I don't recall. I think the most we had was about either 10 to 20.
Yeah, but then
20, I
we
think.
have yeah, but AkaCon, they got hundreds of people, like nearly 1,000 people came to both of those events. So that
Yeah.
definitely showed the potential to get more people together at that point.
Well, AkaCon basically told us that there is a uh there is a want for this type of event to happen there. And so trying to at that point was now we have this bubbling taste of what a convention was like. Not the greatest one, but it's a taste for a lot of people, and that's what drove the showcase was basically to allow them to express what they wanted, and
Yes.
that
Sorry,
and
go ahead.
that's where in turn instead of the third showcase it became AE.
Yes. So, Anime Evolution was sort of the convention in Vancouver. So, and also I was at so Anime Evolution, like the first one. That's sort of where I entered this stuff because I was at that first con that they did, which was in 2003. 2002 was just like anime was like showcase anime
Okay.
showcase, aka Anime Evolution. Do you know where the name Anime Evolution came from?
Actually, I was not in the meeting when they chose that name,
Hmm.
or I don't recall.
Okay.
It's been so long.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a good name. Good name for a convention. Um, but yeah, so this anime showcase at Harbor Center SFU set the scene for like a proper convention run by the local groups and
Community.
clubs
Yeah.
in Vancouver. So yeah, and you were involved in starting in organizing Anime Evolution.
Yeah, I was actually.
Yeah. So what can you tell us about how the first Anime Evolution came together, which was at not SFU Harper Center, but SFU Burnaby Mountain on top of Mount Doom in
Oh, three.
in that part. Yeah. Oh, 03.
Yeah. So basically, the third year of the showcase, as the various groups were getting together, um, and discussing it, our chairman at that time saw the turnout and the projection of how things were going, and decided like, uh, we have a major announcement, and that was the announcement of basically pulling AE to the showcase to a full 3-day event. When that happened, we were right in the works of talking to guests, um, and also at the same time, we had a direction that we wanted to achieve, which was again to bring this all together. In So that's why there was so much confusion in the first year with a lot of people of what was happening, because it was something that we were trying to maintain a steady showing of trying to keep the core of what we were, which was the showcase,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the same time expanding it to all the various other aspects of what a convention nowadays looks like.
Yeah. To say that the first year of Anime Evolution, um, what was well organized or went off without a hitch or wasn't a big mess in many ways would be a little revisionist, I think.
Mm, It is because, again, for any major events, first time running it,
Yeah.
there's bound to be problems, bound to
I
be shortcomings.
my favorite memory of the first Anime Evolution was how they had those food vendors, the noodle servers, just out in the hallways at SFU, um, serving
Yeah, they,
food, serving yakisoba and stuff, which was great. And then they were gone the next day because apparently they didn't have the proper food licenses and stuff.
no, it was actually the first year was fine. They ran through the first year without an issue. It was the second year that's when the issue of uh that all that came about.
Okay, yeah. There were still quite a few fan subs playing at Anime Evolution the first year, but that is something that went away entirely by the second year, where everything was
Yeah,
of official
because
screenings. Yeah,
the first year, who has license and who doesn't have license, that was a big issue, because
yeah,
trying to find who owns what was kind of like a needle in a haystack sometimes back then.
yeah. But you refine the approach towards that in the second year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anime Evolution, for all its all its missteps in the first year, was when everything kind of came together for
Yeah.
the first time. And so at this point, as you mentioned, the chairman of VJAS when the con started, was that Chad Ma? Was he the chairman at that time?
No, it was someone
No.
else.
Okay, so Chad Ma, so he passed away last year,
He passed away a couple years ago,
a couple
actually.
years ago. Chad Ma passed away a couple years ago, so he was kind of a key figure behind Anime Evolution as well. He wasn't
It,
always the chair, but he was. I know he was always in the background there.
yeah, he was one of the figureheads, major figureheads of the event there back then. Um, and he again was part of VJAS and the anime club. So
Yeah, I always got the feeling that he was one of the people really spearheading and trying to push things forward. I think he was really behind the push to get it to the convention center that one year, which unfortunately didn't go that well for Anime Evolution, from what I remember. I don't know if you were
uh,
still involved at that point.
I was still involved. I was running the dealer's room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there was lots of things I didn't keep track of that I wish I did, but it was just
That's
kind of hard when you have like a responsibility of like you want to keep this area running as smoothly as possible.
yeah. Yeah, that's fine. We're beyond the scope of what I wanted to focus this episode on at this point, anyway.
Okay.
Because obviously everything once Anime Evolution started in Vancouver, everything really changed a lot. We saw things balloon up like they never had before, and whatnot. And it's very much the start of just sort of the modern community as we know it today. I did have one more question. So I know Anime Evolution, they had an online forum at that time, and I know that was really the first like local Vancouver-based hub for anime fans to connect. Am I right, or is there anything I'm kind of missing there? Is there any precursor to that?
For anime wise,
Yeah, because the
I
Anime
mean,
Evolution message boards. I mean, assuming that was the first just sort of local discussion group based in Vancouver online.
yeah,
I mean, that's almost as notable as the con itself in that respect.
it is because that helped shape the con as it was and as it is because when problems arise and people can't seem to find someone to help them, that's the first place they'll go. And that is always an active place for a lot of us because we are always checking it to make sure what we're short on, where our shortcomings coming from, so we could improve on it. And that's always helps us out greatly. And for the fans, it's a place for them to tell us, and we listen, hopefully a lot. But
Well, I
that's
was
where I would.
I was on there complaining about things constantly. Uh, Many of them not good criticism.
Hey, it's within your rights to do so.
Yeah, fair enough. But obviously, Anime Evolution, the original one, ended in 2010.
Yeah.
And everything's been really different. We've seen all sorts of other events pop up, all sorts of other groups. Things have changed so much. Do you have any thoughts on just the current state of the scene or how things have evolved over the years, just specifically here in Vancouver?
Well, yeah, it is a hot topic. um, I, no, I could get into it. I feel like AR, who tried to took up the mantle, has shifted its focus on the from the fans and more of a towards a individual type of thing. Because AE was a non-profit, right? Where AR is
Yeah,
for profit.
they are for a proper group, but we're talking about Anime Revolution, which, of course, chose a very similar name to Anime Evolution when they
Yeah,
started. Uh,
and that's where
Controversial decision.
it was controversial. We still don't know why they decided to put an R and it's just like, oh, this is who we are, and we're like, why? But when they pushed themselves as a for-profit, there's they had done so much. They done a lot of good for the community, but at the same time, done a lot of bad for the community.
My policy with them is that if they accept my panels, I'll go. If they don't, I don't. There's no other reason to really go to that convention. Yeah, I think here's what I think. I think it's really important that we have lots and lots of different institutions in this city related to anime, whether they're conventions, whether they're stores, whether they're groups, whether they're, anything like that. I think we just have to have lots of different establishments and names and groups that all just kind of do their own thing and they can work together. They don't have to work together, but I think that's always the sign of a strong community, is when you just have all these different entities, these different identities, and they don't all have to be tied together. They don't all have to be part of a certain in-group, which I guess it kind of traditionally was in Vancouver. There was a long time where it seemed everything was kind of tied together centrally. Yeah. And maybe, there are good and bad things about that, of course. I think
there's always good and bad about any type of things. It's just, at the end is, did the people that you present yourself to enjoy themselves?
Yeah.
Your audience and your focus. If they did, I think if you could take away from that and learn from that, I think that's the best thing to do.
Hieu, thanks so much for coming on. I think we'll end it there because I think we've painted the picture that I was hoping to. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Is there anything you'd like to promote, or do you have any social media channels that you'd like to share with people?
I'm not really on those right now. I'm more of a behind the scene type of person myself nowadays.
You know what? That's actually quite commendable, I think. You don't need to be on those things.
Yeah, because too much of those things, just too much politicians gets involved, and then everyone wants to be it. So I'm like, I'll just stop.
All right, and thanks for tuning into Zonan Canada. You can reach me on Blue Sky at jbetteridge or email zonancanada@gmail.com. The theme song is by Ultraclystron. You can find that on his album Packet Flood at ultraclystron.com. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts, and I'll see you again.